I was stirring honey into my morning tea when the message came. My phone buzzed once quiet, unassuming. A number I didn't recognize. No preview, just a gray notification bar and a single line. "I'm so sorry for what they said at the memorial today. You didn't deserve that." I stared at it, frozen mid-stir. Memorial? For who? The only funeral I knew of was the one I hadn't attended by choice. My former sister-in-law passed 2 months ago, but that was long over. I tapped on the message. Attached was a video file. No caption, no explanation. Just a file named St. Jude Sunday.mov. My fingers hesitated over the screen. My tea had gone still, the spoon sinking slowly to the bottom of the mug like a ghost settling in. I pressed play. The first thing I saw was St. Jude's Church, the same church I grew up attending. Brick walls, ivy vines, wooden cross above the arch. The camera was shaky at first, zooming in on the front pews. I saw my daughter, Lena, dressed in black, holding a microphone. Behind her was a framed portrait me portrait. My breath caught in my throat. I blinked. It was me. That photo had been taken 7 years ago at a school ceremony, back when I was still teaching. Back when Lena still called me Mom without bitterness. Back before everything broke. My heart started pounding. My ears rang. Lena's voice crackled through the speakers. She was complicated, but she tried. And that's what matters, right? She tried to be a mother, even when it got hard. In the background, I saw my sister Rachel dabbing her eyes delicately. My ex-husband, Robert, sat stone-faced, hands clasped like a man pretending to grieve. Behind them, a small easel held up a sheet of paper. I squinted. No, not that. They weren't. I turned up the volume. "And this was the note she left us," Lena continued, voice trembling. "I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. I just didn't know how to keep going anymore." I stopped breathing. They were reading a suicide note. My suicide note. Only, I hadn't written those words. I hadn't died. I was standing right there, alive, tea still warm, slippers still on, in the quiet kitchen of a small mountain town that no one from my former life had ever cared to visit. I pressed pause. I pulled open the second drawer of my desk, the one I hadn't touched in months. Inside, neatly folded, was the letter I had written. The one I sent to Lena after she and my family tried to force me to sell my parents' house. The one where I said, "I need distance. I need peace. I am choosing silence over sorrow." There was no mention of suicide, no apology for existing. Just boundaries. And they'd taken it, twisted it, and made it my farewell note. I replayed the video. This time, I watched the crowd. Former neighbors, distant cousins, even the old librarian from our childhood. Everyone dressed in black. Everyone nodding, weeping, clasping tissues like they knew me. Like I was gone. And none of them had called to check if it was real. They just accepted it. Swallowed the story and moved on. I couldn't stop shaking. I sat down slowly, phone still playing in my hand, and whispered aloud. They didn't just disown me. They buried me. Alive. Outside, a dog barked. A neighbor slammed their car door. Normal sounds. Everyday life. Except mine had just fractured into something unrecognizable. I wasn't dead. I wasn't missing. I was erased. And whoever had sent me this video, whoever knew the truth, had given me a gift I didn't know I needed. Proof. Proof that they weren't just cruel. They were calculated. I watched Lena read the final lines of the fabricated letter, her voice cracking perfectly, her hand pressed to her heart. Applause followed. Applause. For my death? I reached for my tea, now cold, poured it down the sink. And in that moment, something shifted in me. Not anger. Not grief. Resolve. If they wanted a memorial, they were going to get one. But it wouldn't end the way they planned. "You want me gone?" I said aloud. "Then you'll have to face me first." There wasn't one moment when everything shattered. It wasn't a loud slam or a fight with screaming and broken dishes. Nomi family didn't explode. They just rewrote the script and quietly edited me out of it. It started the day I said no. 2 years ago, Lena called me out of the blue. I still remember the way her voice was too sweet, too measured. "Hi, Mom, how are you? I've been thinking. We should talk about the house." The house. My parents' home. The one they built with their own hands and left in my name after they passed. Not Rachel's, not Robert's. Mine. "You're living alone in a 3-bedroom, Lena had said. "Wouldn't it make more sense to sell and split the money? You always said family matters most." I paused before answering. Because I had said that, I believed that. But there was a difference between love and leverage. "No," I replied simply. "That house isn't just property, it's part of who I am. I'm not selling it." Her tone chilled instantly. "I thought you cared about helping your daughter get ahead. But I guess that only mattered when I was little." She hung up. And just like that, the temperature of our entire relationship shifted. The calls became fewer. Then came the text, short, clipped, like from a stranger. Holidays passed. No visits, no cards. When I tried to reach out, she was busy, traveling, in meetings. And when I mentioned her to Rachel, my sister's voice tightened. "You really should have said yes, Clara. She's your daughter." Funny how quickly loyalty becomes conditional when money enters the room. Then came the letter. Or rather, the one I wrote. After 6 months of being iced out, lied to, and painted as selfish, I sat down and wrote a simple, quiet letter. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't final. It was just honest. I told Lena I needed space, that I wasn't angry, just tired, that I loved her but I wouldn't bend just to stay in her good graces. I signed it, sealed it, and mailed it. That was the last time I sent her anything. I didn't know then what she would do with that letter. I didn't know she'd keep it, or that she'd rewrite it. The months that followed were strangely quiet. Too quiet. At first, I welcomed it. I read books, tended my garden, taught an online poetry course for seniors who still believed in metaphors. But there were signs. Small things. A bank account that suddenly required identity verification. A driver's license renewal that flagged me as pending deceased. A government envelope returned marked, addressee no longer active. I brushed them off. Bureaucracy is a tangle. But now I knew better. Those weren't mistakes. They were erasure. I looked back at the video again, my hands now steady. Lena's dress was designer. Rachel wore pearls. The flower orchids, lilies, expensive. That wasn't grief. That was presentation. The way Lena's voice cracked perfectly on cue. The way Rachel placed a hand on Robert's shoulder like a TV widow. And the photo. That same damn photo they'd stolen from my Facebook page years ago. Cropped, edited, printed in 11x14 gloss, like they'd been waiting to use it. They weren't mourning me. They were marketing my memory. I walked to the small fireproof safe in my closet, the one labeled Trust. Inside were folders I hadn't opened in years. The will my parents left, naming me sole inheritor of the family home. Insurance forms with my name. A copy of the letter I sent Lena. I ran my finger down the page. It ended with, "If someday you want to talk again, I'll be here, but I won't beg to stay in your life." There was no mention of despair. No apology for breathing. No goodbye. And yet, that's what they turned it into, a staged farewell. I picked up my phone again, rewatched the final 30 seconds of the video. Lena stepped down from the podium. Rachel hugged her. Robert bowed his head. Then the camera panned to the front of the altar. There, behind a velvet rope, sat a memorial donation box. A brass plaque read, "In loving memory of Clara Jensen, mother, sister, friend, please support the Living Her Legacy Foundation." My jaw clenched. There wasn't just grief here. There was a business plan, a legacy I never approved, a funeral I never consented to, and a family who buried me, not with shovels, but with paperwork. I stared at the screen, and then I said it out loud for the first time. They wanted me gone, but I'm still here, and I'm coming home. You'd be amazed how many systems are willing to believe you're dead if enough people say it with confidence. The next morning, I walked to the town library with a thermos of strong coffee, a list of logins, and a fire I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't just going to confront them emotionally. I was going to dismantle them, paper by paper. First stop, the Public Records Office, online portal. I typed in my full name, Clara M. Jensen. Birth date, June 6, 1965. The screen blinked once. Then it loaded something I'll never forget. Deceased. Date of death, October 21, 2023. Cause, self-inflicted. Found unresponsive in private residence. Status, closed. Certificate ID, Kolobs Che 22,743. I felt the color drain from my face. It was real. Not just a rumor. Not just a video eulogy. The state believed I was dead. And someone had made it so. It wasn't a mistake. There was an official digital death certificate, signed electronically. I clicked on the authorized reporter line. Name, Rachel M. Jensen. Relation to deceased. Sister, emergency contact. There it was. Clean, clinical. Like my life could be folded up and filed away. I leaned back in the chair, the sound of other patrons tapping keyboards around me like faint rainfall. Rachel had signed my death into reality. I pulled up the property registry next. My family home, 47 Eastbrook Lane. Still standing, still beautiful. I'd visited it in Google Maps Street View last summer, watching ivy crawl up the porch railings. But now? Owner, Lena Jensen. Transfer date, February 4, 2024. Method, inheritance uncontested. They didn't just declare me dead. They profited from it. Next, I checked the Living Her Legacy Foundation listed on the memorial plaque. It was a registered nonprofit. Founded by Lena Jensen. Mission, to support mental health awareness in memory of my late mother. A website with photos. A gallery. A donation portal. And beneath it? A glowing testimonial from Rachel. Clara struggled in silence. This foundation ensures her pain becomes purpose. I laughed out loud. A bitter, sharp sound that made the man at the next terminal glance over. I muted my screen. That's when I remembered something. My email. Last year, I'd tried to renew an old Gmail account linked to my teaching years. It had failed. Back then, I thought it was a tech glitch. Now I knew better. I searched for recovery options. The screen popped up with a red banner. This account has been permanently deactivated due to verified user decease. I clicked appeal. Another message. This account was flagged as inactive due to a government notice of death. My stomach twisted. They hadn't just taken my house. They hadn't just rewritten my goodbye. They'd erased my name from the digital world. No email, no taxes, no voting, no existence. I stood up from the library terminal slowly, as if the weight of being dead had settled into my bones. But I wasn't done. Back home, I pulled out my passport folder, flipping through the pages. Stamps from Canada, Ireland. A few years ago, I'd gone on a solo trip after retirement. I kept all my boarding passes, my Airbnb receipts, even cafe napkins. Now, they were evidence. I laid everything out on the table. Dates, signatures, documents that proved, unequivocally, I was not in that house on October 20. Honest. I did not take my own life. I was, in fact, having fish and chips in Dublin. I assembled it all into one thick folder labeled Rebuttal to My Death. Just then, my phone buzzed. A new notification. From Instagram. An account I didn't recognize had tagged me in a post. At Lena Lives Well. I tapped it open. There it was, Lena, in a white dress, holding a champagne flute, surrounded by family and friends. The caption? Celebrating life, love, and legacy, Mom would have been proud. My photo wasn't there, but Rachel was. So was Robert. Even my niece holding up a glass of rosé. But no seat saved for the woman who built it all. Then I saw it. In the background of one photo hard to catch unless you knew where to look was a man giving a toast. A tall figure with dark hair and a glowing smile. And standing next to him, my daughter, Lena, holding hands, wearing a new ring. She'd gotten engaged. And from the way the room looked, the house I'd refused to sell was now their engagement party venue. I clicked off the app. My hands were shaking again, but not from fear. From clarity. From cold, surgical purpose. They didn't just bury me. They replaced me. There's a strange kind of calm that settles in once you've been declared dead. The worst thing that could happen already did. Without your consent. Without your presence. So when I packed my folder full of documents, zipped it into a battered canvas tote, and walked into the downtown legal office that Thursday morning, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. The receptionist barely glanced up as I entered. Appointment name? Clara Jensen, I said clearly. She blinked, then looked again at the screen in front of her. I'm sorry, she said slowly. It says here, deceased. I smiled tightly. Yes, that's what we're here to fix. I was led to a small conference room. 10 minutes later, a young man with glasses and too much gel in his hair walked in holding a tablet. Miss Jensen? I nodded. He stared for a second longer than necessary. Then sat down. My name's Daniel Moore. You requested a consultation under unusual circumstances. I have to admit, this is the first time someone's challenged their own death on my calendar. I slid the folder across the table. Everything I'd collected. Passport stamps. Rental agreements. Utility bills. Medical records. Photos from the last 3 years. A notarized copy of the original letter I'd written Leneth, one they'd falsified into a suicide note. Daniel flipped through it in silence. Halfway through, he removed his glasses. You weren't just erased, he said. You were overwritten. I nodded. My voice was steady. They declared me dead to claim inheritance, to redirect a trust, to steal a home, and then they built a legacy on top of my name. He exhaled, low and slow. This is more than one legal issue. We're talking fraud, false reporting, misuse of assets, digital impersonation, and possibly insurance violations. I leaned forward. I don't need revenge, I need restoration. He met my eyes. Then we start with a motion to revoke the declaration of death. We file in the county where it was recorded. I'll need sworn statements, your presence, and as much documentation as you've got. I tapped the folder. All in there. The next few days moved fast. Clara Jensen living, breathing version reappeared on paper. Affidavits were signed. A court date set. Daniel filed the motion with urgency typically reserved for people fighting deportation or medical denial. You're in legal limbo right now, he told me. Alive in body, dead in system, but not for long. Meanwhile, I opened a new email account, new phone, new P.O. box. Each step was a soft reclaiming. My name, my presence, my breath. But even as I began reassembling my legal life, they were still performing my death. The Living Her Legacy Foundation was planning a charity gala. I found the flyer online, circulating among local community groups. An evening to honor Clara Jensen, gone too soon, never forgotten. Hosted by Lena Jensen, Rachel Jensen. Featuring testimonials, poetry readings, and the unveiling of a memory garden. I nearly laughed. Then I noticed the date. Sunday. The very Sunday I'd be in town for my court appointment. The thought came fast, uninvited. But once it arrived, it refused to leave. What if I showed up? Not to make a scene, not to scream, just to walk in, to exist, to stand tall in the skin they pretended was buried. Daniel didn't love the idea. It could affect public perception, he said carefully. You want to win this in court, not go viral in a scandal. I nodded. But I wasn't looking for scandal. I was looking for witnesses. And something told me no legal filing could ever speak as loudly as my presence in that room. I went through my closet the night before. Most of my clothes were soft, lived-in sweaters, jeans, cardigans. But at the back, behind a winter coat I hadn't worn in years, hung a navy blue dress. Sleek, simple, elegant without apology. I tried it on. It still fit. I pinned my golden phoenix brooch at the collarbone. Symbol of rebirth, of fire survived. Then I laid everything I'd need beside it. Court papers, death certificate copy, passport, the real letter. And finally, a note of my own. Short, sharp. To those who wrote my ending, I came to write my return. I didn't sleep much that night. But when the sun rose, I stood at the window and watched it. Alive, whole, and walking back into a world that thought it had seen the last of me. St. Jude's had never looked so full. Cars lined both sides of the narrow street like a funeral parade. The sun was just starting to set, throwing long shadows across the sidewalk. It should have been a beautiful evening, and in a way it was. Because this time, the dead woman wasn't in a casket. She was watching. I stood across the street from the church I'd once been married in, baptized in, and apparently buried in. My navy blue dress moved lightly in the breeze. Not a funeral color. But then again, this wasn't a funeral. This was a performance. And tonight, I wasn't playing dead anymore. People were still filing in, old neighbors, book club ladies, ex-colleagues I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wore black. Everyone wore grief. No one questioned anything. That was what hurt most. Not that my family had lied. I expected that. But that no one, even those who once called me friend, had reached out. They believed I was gone, and they moved on without asking why. I watched as Rachel stepped out of a sleek black SUV, dabbing her eyes before even reaching the door. She looked like an Oscar nominee arriving for a red carpet of sorrow. Behind her, Lena emerged, wearing a black satin dress, pearl earrings, poised. She paused on the church steps, hands clasped in front of her like a politician awaiting applause. And applause came soft, polite, as if she, not I, was the one being honored. A bell rang once. The doors began to close. I waited until the last chime faded into the air. Then I crossed the street. The usher at the door blinked when he saw me. Not recognition. Just confusion. I smiled, said nothing. He stepped aside, and I walked in. The church glowed in candlelight. Floral arrangements flanked the altar-white lilies, orchids, hydrangeas, the same kind my mother used to say smelled too much like endings. A large easel stood in the center. My face. That same photo, smiling, eyes soft, unaware that one day it would be used to eulogize me. I felt the air thicken in my chest. I didn't cry. I wasn't there to mourn. I was there to be seen. I slid into the last pew. No one noticed. Not yet. Lena stood at the pulpit. My mother struggled. She loved deeply but carried her pain quietly. This foundation is my way of turning her silence into purpose. She paused for effect. Someone in the front row sniffled. Tonight we remember her laughter, Her poetry, her strength, gone too soon, but never forgotten. I could have laughed, except it wasn't funny. It was theater, and I was the only person in the room who'd read the real script. Then came Rachel. She read a poem, one I'd written decades ago, during a winter I thought I'd never survive. Even the frost has memory, she recited. Even the quiet carries sound. I sat perfectly still. Even the silence has its own kind of scream. Finally, the pastor stepped up. Let us now rise and take a moment of silence for Clara Jensen. The entire church stood, heads bowed, eyes closed, hands clasped. The hush fell like a curtain, and into that breathless stillness I stood. The sound was deliberate, not loud, but unmistakable. The gentle scrape of a pew, the click of heels on old wood floors. One step, two, gasps, whispers, a rustle of confusion behind me. I kept walking, down the center aisle, past the sea of black and bowed heads lifting one by one. My heels echoed like a metronome of truth. Click, 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 until I reached the front, until I was stand alive beneath my own photo. Lena's eyes locked onto mine first. Her expression didn't crack at first. Just a flutter, a twitch at the corner of her mouth. Then Rachel turned, her lips parted. She stepped back like she'd seen a ghost. Robert, me ex-husband, dropped his program. Somewhere in the room, someone whispered, "Is that?" I looked at the portrait, then turned slowly to face the crowd. "I heard I died," I said clearly, "but I'm here to correct the story." "I heard I died," I said, "but I'm here to correct the story." Silence. Not a shocked kind, more like suspended, as if no one knew whether to breathe. I stood beneath the portrait of myself, the version they'd curated for public mourning, and I watched as people scrambled to make sense of the living woman standing before them. Rachel's mouth opened, then closed. Robert dropped into the nearest pew like someone had knocked the wind from him. Lena froze. Not a single tear. Not even a twitch. Only a flicker of something behind her eyes, strategy recalculating. "I won't take much of your time," I said evenly, "but since this evening is in my honor, I figured I should attend." A nervous laugh from somewhere in the back quickly hushed. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. Thick, marked with a red elastic band. I opened it slowly. "This is the letter I sent to Lena 2 years ago. The one she read tonight, wasn't it?" I held up the real letter, printed on aging ivory stationery. There was no mention of suicide, no regret, no surrender, just boundaries, and a mother asking for peace. Murmurs. One woman covered her mouth. I continued. "Here are my travel records. On the day I was reported found dead in my home, I was eating lunch in Dublin. Ask the cafe tipped well." Another paper. "Here is the certified copy of my passport, with valid stamps post-mortem." I didn't need to raise my voice. Truth doesn't require volume. "And here," I said, my voice narrowing to something steely, "is the death certificate signed by my sister." I turned to Rachel, who paled under the candlelight. Cause of death, self-inflicted, filed without investigation, verified without contact. I paused, let it sit, then delivered the last line directly. Filed without permission. I turned toward Lena. She still hadn't spoken. The pearls around her neck rose and fell with each careful breath. The trust fund my parents left me was transferred to Lena 6 months after I was declared dead. A beat. The house I refused to sell was reassigned to her name under an inheritance clause that required proof of my death. I stepped forward slowly. The death she manufactured. Lena's hand tightened around her clutch. Someone in the front row gasped. Another whispered, "My God." "And now," I said, unfolding the final page, "since we've heard so much about my goodbye." I lifted my eyes. "I'd like to read it myself." My voice didn't shake, because the truth is easier to say when you've lived through its silence. Lena, I need distance. I love you, but I will no longer bend myself to be accepted by people who only want me when I'm useful. This isn't abandonment, it's self-preservation. If you ever want to talk again, I'll be here, but I won't beg to stay in your life. Mom, that was all. No dramatics, no accusations. Just truth. The kind you don't expect to be weaponized after you're gone. I never left this world, I said, placing the pages back into the folder. But I was written out of yours. My eyes scanned the crowd. Some looked ashamed, others confused. A few tearful not for the loss of me, but for the recognition of their silence. You didn't lose me, I said finally. You handed me over? To false papers. To stories easier to tell. To grief that earned you donations and sympathy, but not a single moment of accountability. I stepped back. The air in the room had changed. No longer warm. Now electric. I turned toward Lena, met her gaze squarely, and added, You didn't mourn me. You replaced me. And still she said nothing. Not denial. Not apology. Just silence. Which was, in many ways, the loudest confession of all. Behind me, someone stood up. A young woman in a green scarf. My former student, if I remembered right. She clapped. Once, then twice. And the sound echoed in the cathedral-like space until others uncertain, hesitant joined in. Not applause. Recognition. I didn't linger. I walked out as quietly as I'd entered. The night air hit my face like water, cold, bracing. But for the first time in a long time, I felt warm. My phone buzzed as I stepped off the church steps. A message from Daniel, my lawyer. Court confirmed for Monday. Motion to revoke death certificate is active. We're officially in business. I looked up at the stars overhead, the same sky they'd buried me under, and whispered, mostly to myself, They declared me gone. But I've just arrived. The courtroom was smaller than I imagined. No grand chandeliers. No cinematic echo. Just beige walls, stiff chairs, and the faint smell of coffee and bureaucracy. But as I stepped inside, dressed in the same navy blue dress I wore to my own memorial, I felt taller than I had in years. Because this time I wasn't walking into a funeral. I was walking into a resurrection. Daniel met me at the door with a tight nod. You ready? I've been ready for 2 years, I said. He handed me the motion papers again, though by now I'd memorized every word. Motion to revoke declaration of death. Filed in my name. Backed by 67 pages of evidence. Witnessed, notarized, stamped with the seal of reality. Across the aisle sat Lena and Rachel. Their lawyer suave, young, with that slick suit, slippery truth, Vibe leaned in to whisper to them. Lena didn't look at me. Rachel did. Briefly. And I saw it then, not fear, not guilt, but calculation. She was scanning for weaknesses. Too late, I thought. You buried the wrong woman. The judge entered. A woman in her 60s. Sharp eyes. No time for drama. We're here to review case 42,718A, the petition of Clara Jensen to revoke her own legal declaration of death. She glanced over her glasses at me. You may proceed. Daniel stood, calm, precise. He laid out the case like a story. That I had been declared dead based on a forged context, no body, no coroner, no investigation. That the declaration had been used to access and transfer my property, my bank holdings, and my digital estate. That I had, since then, been living abroad with valid employment and government documentation. He paused. In short, Your Honor, Miss Jensen has not returned from the dead. She never left the living. The judge looked at me. Miss Jensen, would you like to speak? I rose slowly. Yes, Your Honor. I'm here to reclaim the name that was stolen, to stand in the body that was dismissed, and to undo what never should have been signed in the first place. I laid the folder on the table. These are the documents proving I was alive and working when they filed me under the ground. She nodded, examined the top pages. Her lips tightened, not with disbelief but with growing irritation. Then came the other side. Lena's lawyer stood. Your Honor, while we don't deny Miss Jensen's physical presence, we'd argue that she, voluntarily disconnected from her family, left the country, and expressed emotional distress in personal letters. Daniel cut in. Emotional distress is not a crime, and it doesn't equal suicide. The judge held up a hand. Enough. This isn't a morality hearing. This is a legal one. She turned to Rachel. You filed the report of death? Rachel stood, adjusted her scarf. Yes. I was told Clara had passed. I believed it. The judge frowned. Who told you? Silence. Was it verified by law enforcement? Medical examiner? More silence? Then on what grounds did you file legal death? Rachel faltered. Lena's lawyer shifted. It was a mistake, Rachel said finally. We were misled. I stepped forward. No, Your Honor. They weren't misled. They were motivated. I pulled out the property deed transfer, with Lena's signature dated 4 months after my death. They didn't grieve. They reorganized. They didn't cry. They collected. And they didn't bury a daughter. They erased an obstacle. Gasps. Even the clerk stopped typing. The judge held up a hand. I've heard enough. She looked me square in the eye. Miss Jensen, I will grant the motion to revoke your declaration of death, effective immediately. Your legal identity is reinstated. You are official alive. A sound escaped me, not a sob, not quite relief. Just a breath I hadn't known I was holding for 2 years. She turned to Lena and Rachel. As for the matter of property and assets, I'm opening a separate fraud investigation. You may wish to retain additional counsel. Lena finally looked at me. For the first time not as a threat, but as a reckoning. Daniel leaned in. You just made legal history. I smiled faintly. No, I just made myself real again. Outside the courthouse, the sky had turned overcast. But I'd never felt more visible. I walked past the cameras, the whispers, the buzz beginning to build online. Someone had filmed my memorial, someone had shared my story. And the world was beginning to ask, what if the woman they buried was never gone at all? There was no parade when I came home. No welcome banner. No family hug waiting at the door. But when I turned the key to my front porch, the one Lena tried to sell under my name, the lock still recognized me. And that was enough. The house was quiet. Dust had gathered where memories once lived, but the walls stood strong. The hardwood floor still creaked in the same spot by the window. I walked from room to room, trailing my fingers across the furniture I bought myself, the books I kept when everyone else told me to declutter, the framed poem I'd written after my first heartbreak. I was still here. Not as an echo of who I used to be, but as the woman who came back from the lie they buried her under. The press requests started rolling in within a week. The memorial clip had gone viral. Someone had posted it under the caption. She walked into her own funeral with receipts. Millions watched me stand beneath my own photo and read the truth. Thousands commented. This is what reclaiming power looks like. She didn't raise her voice. She raised the room. I'm 61, and she just reminded me I'm not invisible. I turned down the interviews. I wasn't interested in being the woman who was buried alive forever. But I said yes to one invitation, a small podcast, hosted by a former student named Ava. She used to be quiet, always writing in the back of my English class. She called the episode, Still Here, a Conversation with Clara Jensen. It wasn't dramatic. Just 2 women talking about truth, silence, and how it feels to be rewritten by people who called you family. I published the poem they used at my memorial. But this time, I published it under my own name, with a new line at the end. Even the frost has memory. Even the quiet carries sound. Even the buried bloom. The fraud case moved slowly. Investigations take time. Lena and Rachel lawyered up. Depositions began. The house and trust fund were frozen under legal hold. And for once, I didn't need to rush justice. Because the real victory wasn't waiting for a verdict. It was waking up each day knowing I existed. Legally, emotionally, entirely. I went back to teaching part-time just creative writing for women over 50. We met on Thursdays at the library near the large window facing the autumn trees. We wrote about grief that wasn't death, about reinvention, about what it means to start again when the world thinks your story is over. One woman said, "Ask why. I've spent 30 years being someone's mother, wife, employee. This is the first time I've written just as me." I smiled and told her, "Then this is your real beginning." One afternoon after class, I received a letter. No return address. Inside was a single sentence written in a familiar hand. You weren't supposed to survive it. No name. No threat. Just truth. I folded it, burned it in the sink. Some truths don't need to be carried. A few weeks later, I stood in front of a small group at a local bookstore. It was poetry night, and someone had asked if I wanted to read. I walked to the mic in a soft gray shawl and smiled. My name is Clara Jensen. I used to be invisible. Then I was declared dead. And now I am neither. I read a new piece, short, quiet. But when I looked up, people were crying. Not from sorrow, from recognition, because this story was never just mine. It was for every woman who's ever been rewritten, overlooked, erased, declared too emotional, too difficult, too much. It was for anyone who's ever asked, "What's left of me when they take everything?" And the answer was always, me. I ended the poem with a line I wrote during the days when I wasn't sure I'd ever be seen again. They wrote my ending. I wrote the sequel. Now I live in the same house. But I move through it differently. No longer hoping someone will knock on the door and apologize. No longer asking why they left. I grow lavender on the windowsill. Paint the guest room yellow. Host dinners where no one lies for sport. And sometimes I sit on the porch, sip tea, and whisper to the wind, "I am still here. Because I am." And that's the only headline that matters. If you've ever felt invisible, dismissed, or erased by the people who should have protected you, Clara's story is your reminder. They can't bury the truth if you come back and stand in it. What part of Clara's story hit you the hardest? Tell us in the comments below, and if you've ever had to fight just to be seen, type "still here" in all caps. Want more stories like this? Don't forget to hit like, tap subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss an episode from Revenge with Emma.